Sup nerds, I'm Tom.
I'm Wes.
We've got a deluxe edition reprint of Rococo, which actually I've never played the original game, so I'm not really going to compare this to the base game. So I don't even know why I brought up the fact that it was a reprint, but that's about it.
So Rococo is an action selection game where you have a hand of cards, you have 3 cards. Actions aren't really specific to the cards that you're playing. It's more like there's different levels of cards that unlock different tiers of actions you take, and then a lot of the cards have like a bonus action printed on them. But the bulk of the game is you are trying to collect materials to sew dresses and tunics and really fancy clothes for these elite people that then you can either sell those dresses off, or the elite are going to go out into these balconies and you gain points for them being out there in the world seeing them.
I will admit that the theme doesn't really do it for me. I've actually kind of outgrown themes at this point. Like the theme, I'm like, what? I don't really care what the theme is. You know, sure, if it's Marvel and
yeah, I was going to say exactly that. Like if it's a theme that I like, I'm excited about the theme. Right. But if it's a theme that I don't care about, it's not really a deterrent for me at all. Like making fancy clothes.
Woo. I mean, granted, that's different. I think calling it action selection is probably like the best category. It almost feels a little bit like Lost Ruins of Arnak, which is a weird thing to compare it to, especially because this is definitely like an older game. And actually, like I said before, I did not play the old edition, but I did watch people play the old edition, so I do have a few pictures, so check those out. But anyways, you do get cards that it's not even like deck building. You do kind of cycle through them in a way, but you don't like shuffle and draw. You get to choose, but like once you play a card, it does go into like your discard pile, and it's not one of the options until you've cycled through the whole deck. So you will play every single card in your hand, even though you're choosing from like this whole big stack of cards. You're choosing 3, yeah, but you still are gonna have to play every single card, and you can't choose the same 3 every single time.
Yeah, so you do have to kind of plan out like, ooh, if I take all these really good cards this turn, I may have my next turn I don't have any good cards. Or
right.
Depending on how many, because you can buy more cards, and there is a way to like sell your cards off for money, but
like call them from your deck essentially.
Yeah, but as you buy more cards, you are diluting your deck as well, so that you may not get that really, really good card you bought as often. Right.
So again, deck building is definitely not the right category, but it gives you a good idea. Again, like Arnak, you have a handful of cards, and we each go around playing 1 card. But the actions, like it looks like a big game, and it looks like it's complex, but it's really not. Like the actions are so straightforward. Euro, gain resources and spend them for points. That's every Euro's gain resources, spend them for points. Most games are gain resources, spend them for points. But what I like about this, the twist is that just because I gained these resources and spent them in the right combination to make the dress, and the dress is worth points, that's not the only way I get points. What I do with the dress after that is kind of another whole way of getting points, because there's all these majorities. There's 5 different halls I could put the dress in, and it's whoever has the majority in each hall will get the certain points. Either anywhere from, actually, this is the 2 players side of the board, so they're probably higher on the other side. Which another thing I will say that I do really like this game, and I think it works at 2 players. But it's definitely better with more, especially because of those majorities, and you're constantly fighting for not just majorities, but other things as well. You're fighting to be the first to do X, Y, and Z, right? So it always feels better if you have other opponents at the table. When it's just me versus you, then it's like, oh, you're going to go for this, so I'm going to cover it. I'm going to get it before you.
You're splitting and sharing so much, and there's a level of like, I'm okay with you getting that because I'm going to get this while you do that. So there's like a trade-off. Whereas in a 4-player game or a 5-player game, you're fighting and you're struggling, and by the time it gets back around to you, things have changed so much. And even like the first player marker we were talking about, in a 2-player game, the first player marker doesn't really trade places all that much, because you're giving up a whole turn just to go first. Like, you're going to go second anyway, but if you're going 4th or 5th, then it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, I mean, you do also get 5 coins when you take the first player marker, so it's not nothing to take it, but in a 2-player game, yeah, unless there's something you're definitely going to want to, like you can see, okay, well, I can tell this dress is going to slide down to be 0 next turn. I want to be the first one to get that or something. Yeah, going second isn't that big of a deal. Also, real quick, I want to talk about the Deluxification of this game.
Good word usage.
I know, right? It is so absolutely beautiful. Like, everything is pumped up like as deluxe as it could be. Like, it really, well, except for the fact that we don't have metal coins. There are metal coins. And actually, for me, I never really care about, like, you can let me know if you think that, if you love metal coins and you have them for your games. I don't think I have metal coins in any game I own. And I have like 200 something right now.
I have a good bit of metal coins. I like.
Well, I mean like in a game, not just like in your pocket.
But it's even like, it's a nice upgrade when it's there. I'm probably not going to spend extra for it.
Right.
And also, poorly done metal coins that feel like really thin and cheap, I would rather have cardboard. Like if it's like a thick, heavy wooden coin, like in a lot of like Red Raven games and stuff, they got really nice ones. I appreciate that. But we're not talking about coin review right now.
Yeah, except I just realized I lied. Charterstone has metal coins, and I do own a copy of Charterstone.
Charterstone?
I know, right?
Did you even finish it?
I've played through a campaign and a half, because we didn't finish ours, but I played through with Will. Anyways, this version is so, just freaking beautiful and decked out. Everybody who sees it is going to be blown away. The colors, the quality, even like we were talking about the symbology. Like, once you read through the rules once, like, you don't even really need to refer to the rulebook too much, because you're just like, what is this? Oh, wait, yeah, that's right. This is this many points, and okay, that's what these statues do, is they give you 2 points for every different color you have, and you can only use one per thing. Like, it makes sense. But there's one little thing I do want to kind of address, is that I've heard a decent amount of people kind of thinking that this was, like, overproduced. Like, this is a game that doesn't necessarily need to be this Deluxified or this expensive. Now, we try not to talk about price, because, especially talk about calling a game expensive, because
it's such a relative term. Yeah,
expensive for me might not be expensive for you. Like, cheap is, like, distance from zero is a bit more universal than, what your roof is. I don't know. I definitely know people who would purchase this game and not even, be like, oh, I definitely want the deluxe version. What, are you kidding me? I don't want the older, crappier version, So to some people, like, I get the argument that when you put this game next to all of the other Eagle Gryphon Deluxe games, like the Vital Lacerdas, the On Mars and Lisboas and stuff, yes, this is like the odd man out. There isn't as much game there as there is also an expansion, the Jewelry Box expansion, and a couple other little promo things, which at the time of this recording we have not played, but there's a possibility that in between filming and editing we will play it, so I'll have to do some hard cut so I can talk about my thoughts. And here's me doing that thing. So I have played the expansion, although I only kind of played it, because the whole time we played it, I don't think anybody made one piece of jewelry, like, the whole time. I mean, you have to fund the decoration for the jewelry, and then you have to pay for the jewelry itself, and it's really only 1 point, plus, I guess it's income, which is kind of good, and I think you also get, like, a resource, but it just never really felt worth it. There is also this section where every player gets a card with, like, a little prerequisite on it, and once you meet that prerequisite, you can hire the card, and it's 3 points, which is good. It also gives new players like a direction, something to kind of go for. There's also a section where you can kind of upgrade cards. Like, as you do things with a brown card, eventually you can burn a brown card to get a better silver card. And then as you do certain things with the silver card, you could burn the silver card for a gold card. Those things are nice. I guess the good thing about the expansion is that it is includable, but, like, ignorable. You could have it in there and not really pay much attention to it. But yeah, it's something I could, take or leave. It didn't really thrill me. But anyways, back to whatever else I was talking about before. I don't want to talk about the Deluxified price issue too much, but I will say this. Yes, we did get this as a review copy, but we are going to purchase a second copy, so that way Wes and I each own one, because that's how much we really like it. So if that matters to you, then there you go.
And I will say, in defense of the Deluxified, one, to say it's undeserving because it's not heavy enough, I think it's a really, funny way to look at it. Like, oh, well, the game needs to be super deep to deserve a Deluxification. Because there's probably a lot of people who look at that like, man, I would really love to have one of these beautiful Eagle Gryphon games that's super Deluxified, but On Mars is just too heavy for me. Like, I tried playing Escape Plan and I couldn't get it. There's plenty of gamers out there that aren't going to want a game that heavy, but that they may want a game this deluxe. And so, it's out there, and if you like it, buy it, and if you don't, cool.
No, I think you're right, and I think the more complex the game is, the more expensive it is kind of like a fallacy. Like, we think that way, and the market is almost kind of priced that way a little bit, but it doesn't feel, like, accurate. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I feel like, I guess because you're paying for the designer's time, maybe I spent more time to, design the game.
But a heavier game definitely doesn't mean it took longer to design, because a really well done medium weight game
could take a long time.
Could take longer to design than a game where you just kept adding more rule set and more rule set.
Yeah,
just to make it heavier.
So getting back to talking about the gameplay, it is just phenomenal. I really think it's not that heavy, but it's actually like the level of heaviness that I tend to like. Like, I have a bell curve, like when it's too easy, I don't really care. When it starts getting too heavy, I mean, for me, it actually becomes like a different category at that point, but I tend to not like those as much, mainly just because I can't hit the table as often or whatever. But this is like right at the complexity where it could be like, with like a standard deviation of like 10%. 5 to 10%. It could be 5 or 10% more complex or 5 or 10% less. Actually, maybe not. Maybe not less. This is like the right on the money for me in terms of complexity.
I agree. Even like in like gameplay length, and it's one of those, like, the ramp is really good where you start off and everything seems so expensive and you're like, no one's like, how am I going to go for this stuff? And then as the game progresses, your income gets higher and then you start being able to sell things off, and like, just
strategies.
Working so hard to make a dress is no longer a big deal. You're looking at like, which dress should I buy? And I'm just going to sell this dress instead of getting points.
I could do 3 dresses this round, probably.
Absolutely. So even like in that, it felt like starving at first and plentiful towards the end. It wasn't one of those games where I was like, oh, if I had 3 more rounds, I could really get my engine going for real. Like, it's got the perfect length, the perfect amount of rounds, the perfect amount of complexity. It's beautiful. Like, the iconography, like, it's a weird thing for me to kind of be like a huge selling point. But how well the iconography worked came up multiple times in gameplay. It's
actually, I think for reasons like that I think people who are newer to games, who probably normally wouldn't, I wouldn't say be able to handle, but probably wouldn't jump at the chance to play a game this complex, could probably handle it pretty well. Like, I was thinking, my sister, Wes's wife, I was thinking she probably could play this and would probably like it. Like, she doesn't play a lot of games. It probably wouldn't pass the Tom's Mom test. My mom wouldn't be able to play it. But it is very accessible for newer gamers. Again, everything just flows. And the different strategies. It's not like, oh, well, you got that, so, you have to, like, you don't have to just fight for majorities. There's tons of ways to just get these decorations or whatever, which gets you tons of points. You could do the fireworks thing where you can, like, triple the value of one of your dresses. If you get a 5-pointer up there, that's 15. Huge. 15 points is a lot. There is a little bit of a bum rush to be the first one to do a few things.
I like how many choices you make, even in the same action. Like, when you get the fabric stuff, do you keep the fabric or you trade the fabric in for the spools and the lace? And then when you finally have the resources to complete a dress or a tunic, do you score the points or do you sell it for cash? And then if you're going to score it for points, which place do you want to put it in? Do you want to fight for a majority? Do you want to cover up one of these things that gives you an extra action that turn or money? Do you want to try to use a better card to build it to lock in one of these like fancy guest spots to help you like break ties? Like, there's just so many choices in that. It's like a fairly, I don't want to say simple, but like, you get resources. What do you want to do with those resources? And then you buy the dress.
There's only 6 resources, even so,
Yeah. So they did a really good job keeping it straightforward while still giving you plenty of forks in the road along the way.
So obviously, Neverboard Gaming is highly recommending Rococo Deluxe Edition. Honestly, this will be. Did it come out in 2020 or 2021?
This is upside down back here. That says 2020 for distribution.
It was
like the copyright is 2020.
I would say we'll probably put this in contender for Game of the Year of 2021, just because I don't think it's a Kickstarter, right?
It is very early in the year.
And I'm still saying it. Boom! It's probably going to be in my top 10. Actually, but 12 months later.
Obviously, we like it. We recommend it. We think that you should buy a copy by clicking on the purchase link in the description down below if we can find a purchase link for it.
There is also what we think that you should buy that is down there, that is in a link form, is for Game Topper. Either way, subscribe to our channel and you'll never be bored. it's freezing in here today.
It's so cold.
It's normally so hot in here, and we're like sweating. But for the one day in Florida that it's ever cold, we decided to film. And like even touching this part of our game top or tabletop, it's icy cold. By the way,
first time I'm not going to recommend a game topper.
I know. It's like, oh, don't get it if you live in Alaska. Oh, you're going to chill your forearms off. But then again, you probably are wearing long. Like I shouldn't have rolled up my sleeves. I have long sleeves, but I wanted to be cool.